Now, I could see that when we start to work together as a group of people, we start to build our own businesses, it's like some racist white people get jealous. Do you see where I'm coming from? We know this with Tulsa, Oklahoma already. We don't have to even go into that. You can see that even with just nowadays when it comes to, look at the stuff with Marcus Rashford. Talking about how, MPs and that are not basically pushing the same need that he's trying to push with feeding these children, giving these children free school meals and whatnot. And that MP, what was that MP's name again? David, I want to get his name on, I'll put up on the screen, I'll put his picture up as well. So, but anyway, I want to ask you guys a question, innit? What do you lot think, what do you think broke the black family in the US and the UK and most of the world anyway? What do you guys think? What was the first fundamental starts, or procedures that you, or time that you actually saw like the black family was starting to break down? Because I feel like my generation especially, we're born into it thinking, oh yeah, it's cool for mum to be a single mum. This is how it goes, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? But really and truly, that's not always the case. What do you guys think? We'll both start with, I'll start with Karen first.
Well, I think that the black family, it started in slavery. I mean, that's basically where it started from. It's not a new thing. It seems new because obviously, I mean, there were single black women in Jamaica, even in my grandma's generation, and even when I go back to, as I'm older now and I'm kind of looking more into things and seeing things from my grandma's generation, I realized that they paint a pretty picture of how life was, but the black family was even still broken back then. So it's not a recent thing. There were single black women even in my grandma's generation. Everybody wasn't married and living happily ever after. It was still broken from then.
But do you feel like, because obviously for me, yeah, now what you're saying is true, and I think with some slavery there is a big, part that it does play in terms of breaking the black family, because obviously they realize coming from Africa, especially with women, a lot of people need to understand that the Africa today was very different to the Africa back then. We wasn't misogynic towards, like very misogynistic towards our women. We weren't very, we never disregarded our women. We always held our women up high. If you look at any of the ancient Egyptian statues back in Egypt, if you was to travel there and see it, every pharaoh's with his queen. If you look at the statues, they're always at equal height. Do you see where I'm coming from? Whereas over here, you rarely see, like if you look at the statue of Cecil Rhodes or any of the man there, you rarely see their statue of their wife next to them or their partner next to them, or do you see where I'm coming from? So we always valued our women, and and women always valued our men. But with slavery, you're right about that, Karen. I feel like butt breaking, which is a term or it's a procedure used when basically if one slave was to escape, say for example, I was enslaved back then and I escaped the plantation, my wife will come true. And, say, for example, I got caught, they will get my wife and bring my son and obviously the rest of the slaves, and they'll rape my wife in front of me, or they'll rape me in front of my wife. Do you see where I'm coming from? To kind of effeminize my image as a man. Do you see where I'm coming from? So mentally, as a kid growing up, you can imagine a child seeing that, it's just all going to be mad. But anyway, fast forwarding it to now, I'll probably give Vicky a chance and Wayne a chance to answer that question as well. So Vicky, probably you're better off going ahead now to answer that.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree. I was just said the same thing, slavery. And I do feel like the makeup of the African family or of the black family years ago was extended family. It wasn't as simple as mum, dad, kids. So there was an extended family and a unit within which a group of people lived within and moved within. And so I do feel like that being broken up and tampered with initially and the consistency of that going on and happening and continuing, and then see leading on to other factors. I won't get into it now because we'll probably go into it later. I feel like that was probably the root in the beginning of it.
Wayne, what do you think?
I think the slavery angle is cool, I suppose. I think it's a thing that people can use as reference, but I think it might have even gone a bit further than that. Because when you think about it, if we was enslaved, well, we were. That means we were conquered. So the breakdown started somewhere. I'm pretty sure there's some strong African leader's wife that told him, no, don't do business with them, man. You get what I'm trying to say? So something happened. Someone got enticed to do something to kind of, you know, let the enemy outside, inside, and, you know, kind of break up the structure of not even just the family, but just like society at large. You get what I'm trying to say? So, I mean, I weren't there in it, so I can't accurately tell you. I would just say what my guess is. I mean, I think slavery is a good anchor point to kind of point to, but I would go as far as to say it was probably a little bit before that. You with me? Like there's some kind of involvement, because it's not like slavery happened like on one grand day where every single part of Africa, everyone got, like, it started somewhere. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it happened over time.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that there were, whether it's men or women or what have you, or queens, kings, whatever you want to say, whatever ruler it was in whatever part of Africa at the time, because I'm pretty sure it weren't even called Africa then, but there was probably certain people that were saying, they were having arguments within their own tribes and circles and families and the rest of it, saying, nah, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I mean, that's one example of the breakdown. But another point to bring up as well is, what I do know is that black families were married like in high numbers, like in the 1960s, even after slavery. You see what I'm trying to say? Even during, when it was like illegal to do so. So the love's there. You want to still be together and all the rest of it. So, you know, like slavery was just a little interruption, and then a 400-year interruption, so I say. But then afterwards, you know, things did kind of, in terms of like man and woman, things got better again. Like, you know, we still stuck together, did what we was doing. I think the breakdown we're talking about now is more just kind of like the structure of the family, like in terms of father, you know, mother, child, and what have you. That's pretty much been, we got interference, we got government intervention and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, no, I hear that still. Vicky, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just on one of the points that Wayne was making, because I think when people say slavery, everyone thinks of like Europe, the slavery in terms of like, okay, Europe coming over, but there was slavery taking place before that, and I do think that contributes. So I do agree, it probably was a bit before, but even it was still slavery that was taking place, and I feel like that had a lot of that unsettled a lot in regards to how building foundations, villages, families, groups, empires, etc. I feel like that was the cause of a lot of the destruction. So, yeah.
Destabilizing from outside influences. It's like it's like, let's just say, for example, obviously it wasn't called Nigeria and Ghana, say, back then. But say, for example, if Nigerians and Ghanaians have got an arrangement like, right, we're going to get this particular thing from you guys, and that's what they've been doing for however long. And then these next set of people, Arabs, Caucasians, whatever, they come and say, no, do this, and da-da-da-da. That kind of disrupts things. You with me? So that's why I was saying before. And you're right, like, you know, it wasn't just Europeans, like the Arab slave trade in Egypt, like it speaks for itself, you know what I'm trying to say? So
yeah, no, you're right. I feel like it's mad because what you're not saying is true. When we're going back in time into history, because obviously you're right, Vicky, there was the Arab slave trade prior to the transatlantic slave trade. That was like, the Arab slave trade started roughly around about 700 AD. And again, it wasn't a you see, with slavery, people need to understand that the 1619 date they keep saying, obviously when slavery started, that was when it was officially a trade, like officially a business. So imagine you got a company now and you make your first, I don't know, 100 mil, and you go on the stock market and become public, and it's on that particular date. That's basically what it was, isn't it? So I feel like when we're dealing with the whole invasion of like countries like Africa and continents like Africa and whatnot, and obviously countries like Sudan, Egypt. One thing I've noticed, yeah, is they always attack the family structure, and I want to link it to today, yeah. So you got like these consistent invading forces, right? And I've noticed that with the Arab slave trade, you can kind of see where the influence comes into with Islam. And obviously, people may not understand, may not feel what I'm about to say with their religion, but I'm not dissing no one's religion. I'm just making a clean observation. Yeah, the whole, men can marry up to 5 wives, but women can't, and the whole covering. Cool. There may be some aspects of that were culturally true before there was a religion attached to it. Do you see where I'm coming from? But you can kind of see wherever there was a heavy family presence, that the women in that particular area were like disregarded, or they were made lower than man. You see where I'm coming from? And now when I fast forward it to today, there's a woman, yeah, called Alice Bailey, who was basically, I think she was born from 1889 to about, and she died at 1949, yeah. Now she's one of those eugenics people, very similar to Margaret Sanger and whatnot, yeah. And she had this thing called a 10-point plan, yeah. And I'm just literally let me get it now. I'm gonna get it up now, actually. I'm also gonna put it up in the edits, but I want to read to you guys some of the things that she was saying, because obviously it's something I've known about for a while, yeah. But sometimes where people sit back and they look at, a particular group of people, like white people may look at black people and maybe like, oh, that's just how they are. The ones there like we're just crazy and animals, but it's not true. The ones there, fam, there's always an agenda behind it, yeah? So watch this. So if you look at a 10-point plan, yeah? So obviously a lot of it is from a religious perspective at one point, because a lot of these people didn't believe in Christianity or Judaism, whatever in it. So the first one, yeah, is basically take God and prayer out of the education system. All right, cool. Some may disagree and say that was a good thing. Some people may say no, but all right, we're going to move on. Then it goes to number 2, which is now where you're going to start to see the breakdown. Reduce parental authority over the children. Do you see where I'm coming from? Break communication between the parent and child, so that parents don't pass on their Christian or family traditions to their children. Then it goes on to promote excessive child rights. I think in South Africa, they had a child legislation, back in 1997 to 1998, where basically you had to listen to your child if your child was telling you, raw, I want to do this, or you want to do that. Do you see where I'm coming from? If a child turns around and says, I don't want to go to school today, as it was their legal right to do that. And as you keep going forward and forward, it goes to like number 3, where it talks about destroying the Judeo-Christian family structure. It's an oppressive, they basically said, right, it's an oppressive thing to have a family as a core nation, because again, with families, like I said before, it's always families that take over nations. The Romans were the Flavians were the first ones to actually start off, part of the new Catholic Roman Empire as you're seeing now. Prior to that, it was the family of Marcus Crassus coming together with Julius Caesar and so on and so forth, innit? So yeah, but one thing that was very interesting in the 10-point plan was basically where they talk about sex, yeah? And they talk about if sex is free, then make abortion legal. And it's very important because in today's society with the black community now, because I always want to bring it back to the black family because that's what we're dealing with, you're starting to see a rise in a lot of things like abortion, a lot of things like having children out of wedlock. And I feel like what they've done is they've took the household and they said, right, you know what? We're going to give the authority, or we're going to give the woman more of an actual home. So we're going to basically say, right, okay, I have a girlfriend, she gets pregnant. We're going to give her a flat. We're going to give her and a child a flat, but you can't get nothing as the father. Now, obviously, someone will turn around and say, well, how's she going to survive? How? Then the government comes in and says, oh, we've got a plan. We're going to give her X amount of money each week. You see where I'm coming from? And then obviously from that now, that's turned into the girl becoming dependent on what the government's giving her. So her in her mind mentally, if the government's giving a roof over your head and he's also giving you money, and it's also saying to you, raw, like, you get benefits to you don't have to pay full rent. You don't have to, ones there like you can stay in a hostel, your gas and electricity is cheaper than whatever, yeah, for example, yeah. You're not going to see the need of a man. And now this is what you're seeing right now in our neighborhoods that we all grew up in, where you're seeing these young youths on road doing a madness because basically they've broken the black family household in that sense, where they've given loads to the women, because obviously they'll turn around and say to you, rah, like I know Vicky can speak on an experience when she was obviously going through a process. I think you spoke about one of the podcasts before, and it was like they were just on to you when you get into the council about rah, like trying to sort out a place. They'll just on to you about, well, if you had a baby sort of thing. Like, do you know the ones there? Like it's like they're not even trying to consider what the long lasting effects could be. So I don't know, Vicky, would you want to just elaborate on that part, on the whole? I remember you were saying in one of our podcasts about.
Yeah, no. So I do think, well, it's what I experienced, and then there's also what I think after. But yeah, the push was to, if you had a child, you would be a priority. Without one, you're not a priority. So obviously, for anyone that's going through that process and needs somewhere to stay, that could obviously, you're being told the same message after professional. That'll be youth workers, that's the council members, that's like homeless units. It keeps coming up, even down to the fact that people feel as though, obviously if you have a child, you get these extra benefits, especially if you're dependent on the government. So you get extra things like child tax credit, child benefits, etc. So for a lot of people who maybe aren't working to be in different positions, or who are happy or comfortable to be dependent on the government, or who even maybe already just have a child, so it's not a case of them chasing that route, but that's what's happened and that's the position they find themselves in, it's very comfortable. And it's something they don't have to think about. But I also do want to touch on the fact that for a lot of people, and I do think most people do it because it works out better on paper, you will get a lot more if you say you're a single parent. So I feel like even when it comes to the statistics on those matters, is it even accurate? Because a lot of people will claim they're a single parent because they know they're given way more. But that does lead to things like, just touching on the whole, I don't know if I'm going off a bit, but the DV aspect of things and that perspective. There's a lot of men that are threatened getting kicked out of their house after every argument because the woman's like, get out, your name's not even on the tenancy. If I call police, they're going to take you away because you have no rights to be here. But yeah.
You see that? You just touched on something, because it reminded me of some of my brethren, yeah, basically when their aunties came to Ghana, yeah, they when they saw the whole council housing scheme, whatever, they were like, oh, boom, let's go and get that. Because obviously, from a economic perspective, if you was to go on that housing benefit, whatever system, you can kind of work. Back in them days, you could still get paid, cash in hand if you wanted to. And then at some point, buy the house later on. Do you see where I'm coming from? So you're not paying full rent, but at some point, you're going to save some money, and it's going to be an easy kind of way of getting on the whole housing ladder or property ladder. But it's funny because my brother used to always say to me, right, if we're in public, yeah, like obviously, no, he used to say, right, this is my mum and dad, whatever, blah, blah, it's my auntie and uncle. But when we used to go to certain public places, it's like the auntie would be like, yeah, I'm a single mother. And I used to be like, why does she keep saying that she's a single mother? But obviously it's because she's trying to keep, what's there? She's trying to keep the property there so she can pattern up and do what she's doing. But at the same time, it's like, she's married, with 4 kids, been married 20 years, what's there for them? But again, it's another strain of survival, because they thought, that would be an easier way, which probably is. And I don't know how accessible it is now, because, the government's obviously got tons of certain things, but that's now going to lead into. Sorry, I'll let Wayne. I'll let you or Karen, if you don't want to touch on that as well.
Yeah, Karen.
Yeah,
Karen's been quiet.
No, Vicky. I mean, the statistics will definitely be misleading, because everything that Vicky said is correct.
I think you're breaking up, Karen.
Find ways.
Yeah, say that again. Sorry,
I'm not sure. No, I said everything that Vicky said is correct, because at the end of the day, the statistics will all be leading, because Black people do find ways around all loopholes. So it's in order to find a way around the loophole of getting a house and getting more financial benefits from the government, you're going to declare things, and those things become statistics. It's what we really about trying to get is just trying to, it's a matter of survival. So it could come across actually that black people are more lone parents by the statistics, when really and truly that's not really what it is. It's just that trying to put our ways around loopholes. Because even some of the statistics that I was looking at today, I knew that it couldn't be right. I knew, because it was actually saying that African families had more lone parents than Afro-Caribbean families. That thing that I know, it's just obvious that African people are smart, so they're going to try to find ways around to, I mean, whether I agree with you or not, at the end of the day, survival, isn't it?
Wayne?
I mean, I don't even pay attention to statistics no more. Reason being, I mean, I studied statistics at A level. So whenever I hear someone even say stats, like, you know, when they say something like, this percentage of people are this, and this percentage, like the first thing I even hear when I hear stats, I'm like, all right, cool. So what was the time you got them stats, and where was you? Did you do it in Liverpool? Did you do it in Peckham? Did you do it in Brooklyn? Did you do it in Philly? Did you do it in all of them? Like, and what's the age group of the people you got the stats on? That's the other thing as well. You get what I'm trying to say? And then when you look at it like that, yeah, there's so many different ways that you can kind of make statistics look that it just ends up being long. You see what I'm saying? So that's the first thing on that. And in regards to what Vicky said about people saying, or Vicky and Karen saying people, they're saying they're single parents because of the stuff they get. Man, listen, it's like what Vicky said. It's good on paper, and it helps in certain scenarios, and it's almost become like a badge of honor in some cases. But the real truth is, it's like, Jess, come on, like me and you know, innit? There's women out there, they're claiming they're single parents, but they've been going out with some roadman that's been bringing in some off the books money for years. All their youths are for the same guy and all the rest of it. So, and then the funny thing is, make her go Jamaica, and she's telling people they're married. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's all long. Like it's almost like on paper you're saying that you're a single parent, but in certain settings you're saying, oh yeah, I'm with my guy over there, and I've been with him for X amount of years, and we went on holiday together, and and so it's mad misleading, and that's why, again, I just don't even pay attention to the stats no more. And because I've got my feet on the ground, I'm around and I'm seeing people do that. Like, shout out to the ladies that's like, you got like a flat in Lambeth or Southwark or all the rest of it, and you only work 16 hours a week. You're getting child payments, child maintenance from one guy, and the guy that's giving you those child payments is not even agreed like through government or nothing. He's just giving you some money, just like that, no argument. And the other guy, he's getting his wages garnished. And then your current boyfriend, he's spending money on you, and plus you're claiming what you're claiming. There's bare situations like that as well. So it's just mad. It's like what you said. It's like what we said before with the government intervention, but it's also a bit of people's individual cunning to kind of work the system. So, and the term single parent, it makes people seem so woe is me, but really and truly, in many cases, some people that are single parents, they're finessing the team pretty well.
Yeah, I'll let Vicky go. I'm gonna get onto that in a sec.
Yeah, no, I was just going to quickly add, because another thing that does feed into that as well is that we've got to remember there's immigration going on. So if your partner ain't legal in the country, can't be claiming him on your property, nor can you be claiming that he's. Do you get what I mean? So there's like a lot of that does impact on stuff like that. Just even thinking, it came to mind when Karen mentioned the whole statistics around African families and a lot of them being listed as lone parents. I think that's a massive factor, because a lot of people aren't legit.
Yeah.
But wait. Sorry. What? But you say, I'm just gonna say this here as well before you go on, because I think that sometimes we beat up on each other a lot when we speak about these things. Sometimes it's like, my dad taught me this as well. We say what we're saying about what black people do and blah blah blah, and the single parent thing and the way we finesse the thing. Asian people been doing that, bruv. Like back in the day, like when they got their shops and that, like bare people called Patel and that, and they're in the same yard and all that. And then before you know it, that one yard and that one shop they got, like that's like in say the year 1990, 2010. All them members of them families got big yards in Perryville and all them things there. They work the thing. You see what I'm trying to say? Like even certain places I've worked, and like my manager might be Asian or whatever. Like the business is registered one way, but the thing that says on the business on the front is something else. Like they work their thing as well. So it's like, I'm not trying to do this thing of it's not only black people, but I think it's important to kind of bring that up because I think it's just human nature. You're going to work things for your benefit, especially if you're disproportionately poor. You're going to do things. You're going to do things that kind of benefit you in a way. So it's not to say we're inherently, I don't know, just always trying to finesse the thing or something. It just happens that way sometimes where you see a little thing where we can do this and do that, and we can get that. You just do it, innit?
So all right then. So then, before I move on to, because I'm leading on to the whole independent black woman, because again, that's tying the whole single parent household in that, yeah. But for me, yeah, do you feel like then we then participated in breaking the black family then?
Say again?
Do you then feel like we participated in breaking the black family because we were getting government handouts, or we were running to get government handouts? Do you guys?
I'll let you know what. I'll let the lady speak first before I answer.
Karen, what do you think, Karen? Do you feel like we participated in that? Because the only reason I'm saying that is because when you sit there and look at it, like you said, the statistics ain't going to be 100% because we all know already, like, certain people are going to use it for whatever benefit. They're going to use it for whatever thing to kind of finesse what they're doing. But then, while they're doing that finessing, are we teaching our children the same finessing to say, look, this is the plan. You get your council house, but this is the plan. You got to stick to it. Or were we just caught up?
I think this has kind of helped women be independent. So things that maybe a single woman in Jamaica would, you'll survive. That's blatant. A lot of people that survive very well without men. So it has kind of led to the breakdown of family because a lot of women think, well, I can do it on my own.
You might have to say that again a little bit because it was cracking up in between.
Go closer to the modem or something. It breaks up a little.
No. What did you say? Think again.
Yeah, no, I can hear you now, but yeah, just the end part when you spoke about black women taking the whole council housing and whatnot, and just basically thinking they can just do it on their own.
Well, like what I'm saying is, it's easier for black women in England to just go through the government route and do things on their own because there's a system in place for them to do that. So they don't have to be dependent on a man. Whereas in other places around the world, you are solely dependent on a man. For if you're a single parent, for instance, you're dependent on a man. So you do extreme things for a man to financially help you in a way. See, the government is good, but at the end of the day, if it's gonna make a woman be able to take care of herself and her child, then obviously it's a good thing. We as women just need to understand you can't leech onto the government and make that be your life forever, but you can use it as a kind of stepping stone to propel yourself higher. Because of the White House and on now in the net, you can't depend on it. What must you do? And the government's just made it easier for women to be independent in England because they act as a crutch in the time where a woman needs it. Because I know a lot of men don't support their kids. Some do, but some don't. So the ones that don't, the woman can find a way to support her children. Men them don't.
Yeah, you see
And
what?
yeah,
You see what?
and it does lead to the breakdown of the family. But what must a woman do? So, you know, you can say, but if the man is not going to step up to the plate and bear financial responsibility, then what's the woman going to do?
Yeah, you know what you're saying is true. I feel like this is the problem, yeah, and I want to touch on the whole, you know, independence of black women, because like you said, you know, a lot of women do go to that, and they basically see it as, you know, a way to help them if the man is not going to provide, yeah. But the breakdown in communicating this. So, for example, like those that went and got council houses, those that were from the Caribbean, and then obviously those that were from African countries as well. There was no, like I said, there was no blueprint put down. So like Wayne mentioned before, the Asians finessed the system, just the same way the Polish did, the Chinese as well to an extent, and I would say Arabs to an extent, but I wouldn't say there's many Arabs, to be honest. I can't even tell you an Arab person that I know in council housing. You know, what's there, fam. But to touch on the Arabs as well, I do know that in Libya when Gaddafi was around, if you were married as an Arab or Libyan, you know, the government automatically gave you 100K because they basically believed 100K was enough to, I think it was 100K in US dollars, equivalent to whatever Libyan currency was at the time. Because they believed that, that's enough to kind of buy a house, start a family, and get you on any kind of ladder of business and whatnot. Now, what you're seeing is because of that, like I said, because of that plan, that blueprint, when they come over to the UK and they pattern up and get a council house, they're knowing that like they got like a 5-year, 10-year plan. I'm gonna get my wife to finesse the system, but at the same time, I'm gonna set up a shop and I'm gonna do, I don't know, kebab. I want to just sell shisha, or I want to do whatever. Do you see where I'm coming from? With us, I feel like there was that loss in translation. Like men just went the next way. Men were like, well, you know what? If that's what the government's gonna do, if that's what they're gonna do, the woman's gonna do. Cool. It's like the government kind of put us against each other. And now, growing up, when I was a youth, it was this whole independent black woman thing that I kept seeing. And this is why I'm starting to not feel the Democratic parties and the Labour government as well, yeah. Because I realized that these men here have come out with these handouts for so many years. These men have got handouts for black communities, yeah. And it never, ever, ever rises us above the level where we're independent. It's like, they'll be talking about, you know, lower income areas and blah, blah, but then tutus now, in the low income areas, there's a high abortion rate. But these men are over here owning the abortion companies. Do you see where I'm coming from? So I feel like...
But hold on a minute, Jesse. 1 second, Jesse.
Yeah.
Said you're in the Labour government. Remember, I'm not into politics, no time at all, right? However, you're saying you don't feel the Labour government and the Democrats and stuff like that. Who's telling black to sit down on government handouts and not make the best use of it? So how comes the Asians knew what the plan was and done it? The problem is black people, we're hard-headed. If you use someone as a crutch, you use them to propel you to another level, and then you leave it alone. But black people love freeness as well. This is the problem.
You know what, yeah?
So
I'm going to respond to Karen and answer the question a bit further. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. I couldn't hear everything Karen was saying because it was cutting out a bit, but she's right in terms of people getting comfortable on the benefit thing, because it's like, you know what, yeah, as you know, my son's 21 now, and it's like when I had him, I never had him, you know what I mean? When my son was born, basically, what some of my friends was telling me was like, yeah, you know, and they was basically telling me about every single benefit that I can claim if I take him full time or whatever, yeah? Like, everyone seemed to be experts in that. But when I had my son, when my son was born, in my mind, I was always thinking, I just got to get my P's up. I wasn't looking at government subsidy here. I was looking at, okay, rent's this much, I need to earn that much. That was it. That is exactly. I wasn't even applying for stuff like tax credits. That was foreign to. I didn't even know what that means. You get what I'm trying to say? So even when he moved in with me, when he was in secondary school or just before, it was only after people telling me, no, man, tax credits and all that, and I was like, bro, what's all that? Like, and so the way I was thinking, that's all long, innit? I'm just gonna work. I have to do a job that, you know, I can finish on time so I can quickly be home when he comes home from school, do whatever, maybe do a night job or something if he's not here, if he stays at his mum's or whatever. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, at no stage was I looking at it of a perspective where there will be some government assistance. And like what Karen said, people got comfortable on it. So what was happening is when people were speaking to me about my son, they was like, no, man, you should claim this. And I guarantee when you was young, your mum claimed this and did it. And I thought, rah, like, for you guys, it's just a given, isn't it? Like, you just, when there's a you just get some government money from whatever. And then even down to another friend of mine, she was saying how, yeah, you know, if I have another child, I'll just claim tax credits and whatever. And I'm like, is that the wave? Like, is that how we're thinking? Like, we're just, it's almost like it's just a safety net there. It's not going to be so bad because, you know, government's going to give me some handout money or whatever else. So Karen's kind of right still. That's just how, that's how a lot of people was thinking. Even if it's like subconsciously, they've got it in their head that basically, if you get a youth, just call on daddy government and he's going to help you.
Yeah, I'm going to let Vicky respond, and then we're going to move on because I do want to get into you know, some other stuff as well with that and stuff. But yeah, Vicky, like, what's your take? Because what you know what Karen and Wayne are saying are true, and I feel like, you know, there is a lot of that from our community where it's like we're just dependent, no plan. But then
Got used to it.
So yeah, we got used to it. Like, do you feel like that's a state of mind that was caused by the government, white supremacy, or whatever you want to call it? What do you think?
I feel like the complacency has kind of come from, because I think we got to being first generation here. The one thing that like I do find funny is like my upbringing. And I have to think about it because I had kind of two parents, right, telling me two different things. Yeah, where it's like, on one hand, because I can see where the complacencies come from. Do you get what I mean? Like, how many knocks can a person take until they just begin to settle for less? Not just stop trying completely, but just settle for less. And one thing that I think has happened, and I will say that, you know, we do need to take accountability for it, not because it was caused by us, but in terms of the response that Black people had to it, was the change in culture. So most people have come from different countries to the UK, and I feel like there was like this big, I don't know, there was this big effort to fit in and conform. And in the midst of trying to fit in to what British life was like and what British and Western and what the Western world was like, things changed, you know, in terms of, I think, some people's goals, some people's aspirations, some people's beliefs in what could be done and couldn't be done. Like, I remember saying I wanted to do law and being told Black people don't get jobs in there. Why are you going to do that? Like, literally. So it was like, if I'm getting told that from home, I never went into doing it. I never ended up doing it. It's still something I'm interested in, but I never ended up in that field. And it was literally for those reasons, because I believed what I was told. And I think this generation that's present now is kind of pulling more away from that idea of we can't do or we don't get this. And it's kind of pushing the narrative more that no, we can do and we can get, even if it's harder, we're still going to push and strive for that same success. But I feel like the complacency probably came from this period of time of consistently being knocked back, like Black people not being employed, because that had a massive impact on, I think, Black families as well in terms of employment rates for men. And then obviously women started to get more jobs, or it was maybe easier for women to fit in and get jobs and stuff like that. So I think there's those factors. And then just even linking into America, they had the whole, I think it was the whole cocaine, when cocaine became a thing in America, and a lot of people's parents were like high or doped off, and it was the one way to make money. So you had a lot of people going to those streams of trying to make money and then getting arrested, and then dads out of their kids' lives for decades or years you know. So it's like those things I feel like all kind of contributed. And when you keep taking knocks, it's like I said, you said like slavery was about 400 years, and then there's still the after effects to deal with. I think as black people just got tired, and I don't think it's every black person that got tired and just stopped, but I feel like that's where the, I think, idea of complacency came from, because it was the easiest way. It's like you get to 16, quickly go get a house that the council can give you a property. People's parents weren't necessarily telling them go have a baby to get the house, but it was like go while you're young because they're going to house you. And then that's where I feel like, because I think even just thinking about the welfare state, there was this period of time where it was like, it was like where the market kind of crashed, and because the welfare state was giving out too much money in Britain. So it was like they came to this halt, and it was like, oh, so I'm so forgetting the term for it, but there was like, it was a period of time that's acknowledged in British history. So I feel like that was another impactor, because when people did start getting jobs again, who was getting the jobs? And what were these jobs paying? So yeah, I just think it's a lot that kind of fed into the go get a council property because it'll be cheaper, so you don't have to worry about not being able to pay your bills. Then we've got another property in the family, and I think a lot of people just conformed and changed their British way, to be honest.